Greetings viewers, you clicked the video link, you're here to listen to me yap about the KRISS Vector. This particular one that I have is in 45 ACP. I've owned it for many years now, so unfortunately I'm not able to do an unboxing for you. Also, it's a older generation, so I'm not even sure what the updates would be to what they are including these days and what it comes packaged in. So we're just going to jump into our normal tip-to-tail review of all the functions and features. We're going to talk about a issue that I've had consistently with this weapon, and we're going to shoot it. We'll see if we can recreate said issues and then possibly come up with a fix for it. So I'm going to stop yapping and we'll jump into the next section of me talking. All right, so I've had this thing for many years. I got my hands on one after waiting quite some time. The very first time I ever saw this thing, it was announced on Future Weapons. I want to say back in like 2007, 2008 sometime, I think. Conveniently enough, at the time I was looking into purchasing a UMP, which those were already hard enough to find. I saw this thing on that show and I was like, you know what, forget the UMP, I gotta get my hands on one of these. Many years later, I happened to walk into Shooters Jacksonville, Florida, and they had one hanging on the wall. It looked a little bit different. The barrel on it was a full-length 16-inch. It looked like it had about a 2-foot suppressor sticking out of the front of it. It was kind of goofy, but I knew I wanted it. My intentions were to pay the tyranny tax, which I did. I sent it into, at the time it was TDI, but KRISS, and they shortened the barrel and sent it back to me. It came with a couple different things right here on the top above the barrel. You can see there's a hole here. This is designed for a flashlight. I actually use that as one of my EDC lights, so that's why it's not currently installed in the gun. This is, again, an older generation, so it does have the stock that I have found out recently is highly desired by many people. It does not have a Picatinny rail on the back here. It's actually got this little hinged portion, so again, maybe showing the age of it a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Starting at the tip of the barrel, the thread pattern on this thing is 16x1 left hand, which is reverse of what you would normally look at. This one is lefty tighty, righty loosey, so keep that in mind if you are planning on purchasing any sort of accessories and you have an SBR version and you need some sort of mount for it. Those threads are backwards and they are different. If I didn't mention it, this one is actually in 45 ACP. That was the only thing that was available in when it first came out, and then they added in the 9mm to the lineup. We've got a Picatinny rail down on the bottom here. This particular one, I don't know if it's maybe just from its age and use, but it is kind of wobbly. You probably can't tell very much by looking at it, but the foregrip on here does wiggle. There is no way for me to tighten this. The screws that are in there are set. I can't do anything about it, so hopefully this doesn't just snap off on me one day. Right here above the lower section on either side, you can see these two screw holes. They are the same on both sides, so those are in case you want to add any extra rails so you can attach any other sort of accessory. If you don't have a foregrip like this and you're holding the gun in this orientation, you can put a pressure pad on whatever side or a light, however you want to run it. Again, this section right here, it has this collar. There is a cap that this collar will come off and you can put a cap on it that'll cover that up. As of right now, it's just a giant gaping hole because, again, I took the flashlight out of it. Nice feature that they have, the tape switch actually has a hole that runs up into the top of the receiver here, and that's where you can plug into the flashlight in the back here, so all that's internal. You just have the cord that runs around from the outside. Your charging handle is up front here. It is a folding charging handle, so when you're done, it lays flat this way, but you can easily grab it and pull it back to rack it. The bolt hold open, bolt release is here. It is not ambidextrous. What you get is only on this side. So again, you press this, pull the charging handle back, you'll lock the bolt, or on an empty, it should lock back, and then you push this in the front to release the bolt. This is your mag release down here. So again, if some people like to hold it here, it's very easy for you to press with your thumb. It's also very easy to accidentally engage it. I've seen a lot of people shooting it in this orientation here, and just the way that their hand is sitting, not only is that uncomfortable for me because my hand is riding up here on the bolt hold open, bolt release, but it is very easy to actually bump that even though it is kind of recessed. So that is something to keep an eye out for. That's why I kind of like to run a foregrip. I don't normally do a vertical foregrip, but on this particular weapon that works for me. This thing does take Glock magazines, so that was a big draw for me as well. I was at the time carrying a Glock 21 as my EDC, so that was perfect. Those same exact mags fit in this weapon, so that is ideal. So you've got these 4 pins here. These are what are used to take the weapon apart, which I will cover in another video. Your safety selector is right here above your thumb, so very easy to go from fire to safe. very positive. It is ambidextrous, so there is one on each side, and they do move together. So again, if this is occluded while you're trying to force one on the other side, you could snap that off or break it. If this particular weapon had a fun switch, it would be located right here. It is independent from the safety, so you can select single, burst, full, whatever have you there. Unfortunately, I do not have access to that. The grip here does have a little bit of a plug in it, so it uses the Magpul kind of things here. So if you get one of those little ones that has a storage container for lube or batteries or bullets or whatever, those will fit in here. So again, you have a little bit extra option for some storage of things if you want some extra rounds or anything else. Like I mentioned, this does have the old style stock on it. There's a button here that you press. This will fold. If you notice right here below the ejection port, there's kind of a little hook. And what that's designed for is that interfaces with the hook on the stock here, and it will actually hold it in place. You can fire this weapon from the folded position. You see the stock has this kind of cutout here to keep from blocking the ejection port, so that is nice. And then again, you have full access to all of your controls. The stock has a cutout on this side, which allows for the safety selector on the right-hand side. As it covers it, it doesn't get occluded, so again, you're not going to have any issues running into with that. You've got this Picatinny rail section on top. There is no mounts here anywhere on the stock or on the frame anywhere for slings. So basically I've just got the Magpul kind of clip adapter here. I could probably find a way to run one on the front somewhere. I just don't have that. I just run it as a single point. It's small enough that I shouldn't need anything else other than that. A 2-point might be nice so I can throw it on my back if I need to go hands-on and do something else. That's pretty much it. The unorthodox shape and design, and I guess the draw for this weapon, is the way that the bolt reciprocates inside of this thing. There's not been a lot of advances in firearms technology and different things coming out, so when this was announced, it was definitely a huge change. When the bolt cycles, instead of just coming straight back to the rear, it actually comes back and goes down. That's why this huge portion right here is so wide, because the bolt goes downward. What it's doing is it's actually helping fight some of those recoil impulses, because as you know, when you fire, the gun tends to kick up. Well, having that mass going down helps kind of mitigate and fight. It doesn't make, again, the recoil zero, but on full auto, this thing is definitely a lot more controllable than some other full auto subguns. 45 isn't necessarily that terrible on recoil, the 9mm version either. However, any little bit helps. Again, putting some sort of muzzle brake on there to relieve some of the recoil. The way the mass reciprocates down with the bolt definitely helps. Not a whole lot of recoil at all. So very fun, very pleasant to shoot. Except I have been having one issue with this particular firearm, and that's why I don't have the optic on it, I don't have the flashlight. It's been kind of just a point of frustration and contention for me. It's been sitting in the safe collecting dust. I pull it out every now and again and try and figure out the issue. So what's happening for me when I fire this thing is as the bolt's cycling and coming forward, before it has a chance to finish loading that second round, it's actually catching the brass from the spent round and smashing it into the front of the receiver here, inside this ejection port area, and it is just demolishing the brass. And I'll try and catch that on camera and show you, and you can kind of see what it's looking like. What I am to understand is, after doing some research and messing with it and just general firearm understanding, is that's an issue with the extractor, and what it's doing is it's not extracting properly. The extractor is not strong enough, it's not keeping up with the speed of the bolt cycling, and it's not getting that brass out of there in time for the bolt to cycle and load the next round. So what I have is I do have a extractor upgrade that I have purchased, and I'm going to go ahead and install in it after shooting it and showing you kind of what the issues I'm having are. We're going to install it, and then we're going to try again, and we're going to see if that fixes the issues. And if it does, then maybe this thing will live to see the light of day again and have a place next to my bed. But we're not going to get any of that done sitting here talking about it, so why don't we head out to the range, we'll put some rounds out of it, we'll see what we can make happen, we'll work on that fix, and see if that takes care of our problem. All right, so here we are at the range. I've got the camera set up. It's going to be looking at me on the ejection port side of the weapon so that we can potentially see the issue occurring as well. You can kind of see how low the recoil impulse is, like I talked about when you're firing this thing. So let's get to it. right, well, now I guess I just look like an idiot making a complaint about something that, of course, the camera's rolling, so maybe you guys are my good luck charm. I didn't have a single issue with it. That is the most rounds I've ever fired consecutively with this thing and not had a problem. So that is quite a pleasant surprise. Again, that's been my only complaint with this thing. This is a great weapon system when it functions properly. It's nice and compact, great for CQB operations, home defense, great for competition use as well. Again, with that low recoil impulse, you get those follow-up shots a little bit faster in terms of shaving off hundreds of seconds of time. So I have no complaints about it other than what we talked about. I'm going to keep just running mags through this thing. Maybe it's just worked itself out. The next video I'm going to do, again, as usual, I'm going to do the breakdown, disassembly, and show you how to do that and put it back together. So that'll be next week's video. If there's anything that I didn't cover about this that you have questions about, something you want to know a little bit more, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. I always try to respond to questions in the text form. If it's something that's a little bit more complicated, requires more of a response than just typing something out, I'll be glad to make a video or follow-up short to answer your question. So anyway, thanks for letting me take up your time. Hopefully you found something useful in this video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.